Just make sure I have my clicker here. So I'm going to talk about something that's a little bit more unique as it relates to marketing in general. I know we could sit here and talk hours about marketing and social media and branding, but I'd like people just to consider something very specific when it comes to building a marketing plan. The first thing is, look, when I sit down and talk with advisors, and I've been in the business like many of you here, 30 years, the most common questions that come up are, is the green button not working? Come on. Yeah, so real quick, I'm not sure if it's a delay or not, but how much money should I allocate? The other questions are, what's my time commitment? What does it look like for my compliance? Can I do certain things? But what I really want people to do, can we just manually do the slides in the back? Because this clicker doesn't seem to be working for me. And I have a little bit of animation on here, so it's taking my time up. But yeah, really, which lane at the end of the day should I travel down? Am I looking to brand or am I looking to build? And before everyone recalls the 1995 Deion Sanders, Jerry Jones commercial for Pizza Hut and says, I want to do both, we'll get to that in just a second. But really, the idea here is focus on one versus the other and then start to build that strategy out. So the first part is on the brand side. I always talk to a universe of advisors who will say to me, listen, Greg, I have a pretty good center of influence campaign. I've got more business than sometimes I know that I can really even deal with. We're just trying to manage all of the pipeline. But I really want to focus on our communications and our brand side. So we'll talk about that. That's where the part where the lane that I'm suggesting is a brand strategy. The build side is another group of advisors who will say, listen, we've got the digital communications down. We've got a website. We've got a social media presence. We feel really good about who we are, what we say, and what we do. But we just want to somehow translate that into today's modern marketing strategy to start building and growing from there. And of course, for the both side, I would just say, listen, if you're going to take on all this, obviously you want to consider bandwidth and how much resources you're going to devote to this, but you have to do the brand first and the build second. If you try just jumping right into a growth strategy without having all these other pieces, it really won't work. You'll miss a lot of great opportunities. So before we jump into my top 10 list on the brand and the build side, always have a clear understanding of a couple things before you start to exhaust any time, any energy. The first is compliance, and I'll just jump out of the gate with this. I don't care where you are, if you're at a bank, a wirehouse, you're independent, you're your own RIA, find out before you start looking at partners, vendors, strategists, other people you're going to bring into the mix, what compliance will approve, what you can and cannot do. And what I like about this concept is you can have a nice conversation with your compliance group saying, listen, here's what we're thinking of doing, tell us the rules of the road. And they'll be very upfront with you. Banker to independent, it doesn't matter where you are. Just know what's available. You can create a custom plan. No one has to sit here at a wirehouse and say, I need to go independent to do all this stuff. No, you have a great menu of options there. You just have a different menu of options if you're an independent or a hybrid. Time and energy. Again, some of these things you all know, but I do want to make a very, very important point here. Your growing practice, everyone in here is very successful. You've gone through the blueprints. You've gone through the practice management exercises. You've built out teams. But you have to devote specific time and energy to a marketing plan if you so choose to do this. I don't shove marketing down people's throats, but if they say, you know what, we really do need to do something, just know how much time and energy you're going to devote to this, because if you try to bite off more than you can chew, once we get to the results-oriented side of this, it won't work. But know what you're going to commit to this. The investment side. I like talking about this because if you take the time, or if your firm has already done this, put together a checklist, a folder, so to speak, or a left column and right column. Here are all the things that are available to me and my team for free, and here are the premium services that I will have to invest something in. Sometimes you can stay over here and build a nice plan. Other times you may have to pick and choose. Resources. I talk about this with a lot of advisors and teams because you may have someone on your team who will do this and can keep track, keep score, devote that time and energy piece that I mentioned, or, and there are services that will do this, it takes a little bit of research and attention on your part, but you can outsource it. You can create a virtual CMO for your team. And there are firms and there are services that provide this that you should definitely want to investigate. And of course, this goes without saying, goals and review. We set measurable goals. You have to sit down and do this not only with your practice, but also with marketing. You can do it on the brand side. You can also do it on the growth side. But what's I think so important for everyone to understand about marketing in today's day and age is that nearly everything is digitized. Everything is trackable. Hits, new followers, how many people get to your website, how long they stay on your website. Are they utilizing a landing page? Are you doing interactive services? There are so many things. You just have to make sure that you're tracking it and that you're constantly reviewing it. And this is the part where I kind of, it's a little personal to me. Always be a little bold. Take some risks. Try to do things that you haven't heard or known that other people are doing. You can go online right now and search up marketing plan for financial advisors and get these great blueprints and get these great suggestions. But I suggest thinking outside the box. How does online streaming events translate into your team's practice? Look at AI and see if there are 24/7 client service models that your firm would allow your team to employ. Are there after-hours advisor call centers that you can utilize? Look at Meta and Facebook. Are there virtual reality type of operations where they're doing it with a classroom training now? You could do the same thing with financial literacy events. But always try to take a chance and see what could we do new, what is someone down the street not doing that maybe we should look at. So now I'm going to go right into the brand side of things. And this is my top 10 list of things that you should consider, or that I think you should consider, if you're going to start down the lane of branding yourself. Number one, this is pretty simple. Everyone knows it. I'm just going to elaborate on one aspect of it. Define who you are. Just do me a favor. Go to Google and type in financial planner. Make sure this is not how you're defining who you are. Don't do the plain, basic, I'm a financial planner who does comprehensive wealth management, et cetera, et cetera. You don't have to be unique and say, I only work with doctors or executives, but have something unique. Define your client service model. Define your values. Okay, what's important to you in your practice? So try and have that connection and make it unique in a way that people can articulate it for you. Number two, digitize your profile. So important. I'm going to tell you right now, I left my phone in the back, but I usually hold my phone up in the air and say, I guarantee you, if anyone is talking about you right now elsewhere, they're not just talking about you and showing your business card or showing a brochure. They're looking you up on their phone, or they're showing you how you represent yourself on their phone. This could be clients, centers of influence, but inevitably everyone's looking you up on the phone, tablet, some way. Make sure your digital presence and your brand, whether it's logo design or, and again, quick side note, because I always get sidetracked when I do all these lists. Logo design. It pains me when I see people just say, I like how this logo looks, and I want to do a design like that. Take great time and attention when it comes to branding yourself, when it comes to logos. Some people think a real cute and decorative logo looks great, but these things scale up and scale down depending on what you're using it for. How does it look on a jacket? How does it look on a golf ball? How does it look on certain greeting cards or invitations? How does it look on a favicon when you're doing it on a website? So, and again, just make sure that you look into what's called a brand guide when you're doing logo design. The language that goes into who you are, the imagery you use on website, the same imagery you use on brochures, and of course your logo and how it all flows together. But digitize your profile, make sure it's updated, professional. Communication, this is, in general terms, what I'm referring to here is how you're communicating your brand effectively. I heard Chris earlier talk about client advisory boards. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But I'm a big fan of client advisory boards. This is not always your biggest clients, but these sometimes are your 5 or 10 best clients. ask them what we do, what we could do better. You know, you gotta let your guard down and take on some certain criticism, but take a look at how you're communicating, emails, newsletters, etc. I'm gonna move through the rest of these real quick, but because I wanna get to our branding list in a minute. But the advisor perspective, media engagement, and appearances. I gotta tell you, whether you're at a wirehouse or independent, if you're a wirehouse, they usually have a department that will help with this, but if you're independent, look into some opportunities to be able to put yourself on TV or put yourself out there or in a venue like this and get yourself out there and talk to clients or talk to peers and be able to have a perspective on something. Clients eat this up. It's great. You can use it on social media, your website, but take a look into opportunities on that. Recognition, obviously best in state, ranks like Advisor Hub, advisors to watch. These are always good to notify and make sure your clients and your opportunities know, and of course CFP, CRPC, whatever it is behind your name. Financial education literacy, I touched on that a little bit earlier. Client advisory boards, again, big fan. You have to understand how to work them. Make sure you do a lot of research on this, but they are I have a team in DC and they swear on this. Tens of millions of dollars they attribute to their client advisory board process. They have a dinner every quarter. They look into this. They make sure they really do revolve people in and out of it, but it's a great way to continue to make sure you define and hone who you are. Leverage video technology. Today's day and age, this is not as expensive as it used to be, but video is very, very helpful when you're putting things together on your website or your social media for people to watch versus having to read through who you are. Personal communication, diversity of content. I love this for social media. Don't just keep putting out marketing material. Don't just keep putting out economic material. Have diversity of promotions on your team, personal events, charities, things of that nature. You definitely want to make sure that people are reading it, they'll recognize it, and they'll typically comment more on that than some of your economic research. And evaluate, redefine. Again, everything is digitized. Make sure that you're putting together a hit list, you're tracking this, you're reevaluating it each month, or each quarter, or each week, whatever your time frame is. So let me get to my top 10 business build marketing, because I see I only have 5 minutes to do this, so I'm going to whip through it, but hopefully you'll get something unique and different versus what you already know about marketing. Number one, I'm not going to go through this. We all know it. Define your goals, spend time and energy on this. Number two, your website is your hub, okay? Everything you do, you're going to direct traffic, you're going to direct referrals, you're going to direct new business to your website. So make sure that you're either utilizing a professional service or you're taking time and energy to make sure this looks unique and has new content. If you have the same content on your website now than you did 12 months ago, why would someone return? Okay? Landing pages. If you don't know much about landing pages, I heard them mentioned in one of the other presentations, so I poked my head up real quick. Landing pages are little mini pages built with certain campaigns. They can have a quick quiz, they can have a certain vetting process, a small 90-second video, but it's a great way to redirect people to go and say, I want to qualify you before we reach out and connect with each other. Look into Calendly. That's a great event planner that you can do and associate with your calendar. You can put it right on your landing page, but research landing pages is a great thing. Digitized prospecting. There's firms like SmartAsset, LinkedIn Sales Navigator. If I were a new advisor in this industry today, I would spend all my time digitizing the entire prospecting channel. There are firms out there, there's matchmaking processes, these are high-level vetting processes, and Sales Navigator is a wonderful program. If you have someone within your industry or your firm that does training on that, learn about it. I'm going to run through this. Target marketing campaigns, email newsletter campaign managers, groups, organizations, centers of influence, we all know that. Coaches, consultants. If you're independent, sometimes this is a great avenue because you get a chance to talk and bounce ideas off other people. Multiple revenue streams, and finally, evaluate, redefine. I'm going to just touch on one thing, and I'm going to end here because I'm getting the flashy red card. Take a look at digital marketing campaigns. And what I mean by this is, back when we were building Steward, we didn't fly everywhere. We drove everywhere, very long distances. I was asked with my colleague Jeff Gagno if we, for a friend, someone we were going out to meet in Albany, would take something called an ERG from Washington, D.C. up to Albany in the back of my Jeep. So as usual, I in my polite way, I was like, what the hell is an ERG? And so I looked it up, erg, and it's one of these big, obnoxious rowing machines. It weighs a lot of, it's super big, and I'm like, again, you're a friend, I understand, but in no way in hell am I doing this. Forget it, I love you, but can't do it. But for the next 3 days, on Amazon, on Google, everywhere I went on my phone, erg training, erg sales, erg parts, erg this, erg that. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting plagued with erg stuff. But think about it in our industry. God forbid you have someone who has a loss of a loved one. They're going through estate planning. They're going through financial planning or retirement. They look it up. You're running a digital marketing campaign, your ad will come up for retirement, estate planning help, how to go over wills and estates with the loss of a loved one. This stuff works. Take a look at it. I hope I at least gave you a thought or two that might help you with your marketing, and I'll be around for questions for the rest of the event. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Pat.